So where the hell have all the petrol V8 options gone? If you don't want a diesel and you want a tow in this country, well, you're basically stuffed. Hey everyone, I'm Broomy. Firstly, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Now, just before we get started, I want to touch on two things. The first being our social media accounts, that being obviously the one you're watching me on now. Subscribe here if you could, it really help. Secondly, it's obviously Instagram, Paul Broomy, and Facebook, which is Broomy's Garage. Post up plenty of content there daily, so if you could go over there and follow those accounts, that'd be great. And the second thing I want to touch on quickly, just before we get started, is mrparts.com.au, which is my performance parts and merchandise business. So anything you can purchase from there really helps me devote more time to developing more content here. So with that out of the way, let's begin. So obviously based on the thumbnail, you know what this video is about. Yep, I'm on the search for a new car, and new as in 2018 and newer to being brand new. Many of you already know what cars I currently own, that being 2014 VF SSV Redline Commodore wagon, what a mouthful. The other being my 1976 F350 Ford tow truck, essentially. So what I'm looking for in this new car is a mix mash between the both. So I want the best of both worlds. I want a V8, a nice sounding petrol V8, and I also want the ability to tow up to, you know, 3.5 ton or something like that. So what I'm finding, however, in the new car market is it is absolutely slim pickings out there, and I'm having a really hard time trying to find something. So watch out the rest of the video. I really need your help on what may be out there that I'm missing, and yeah, some feedback on some of these cars perhaps that I'm going to throw up here that you might have personally. So keep watching, and yeah, leave your comments below once you've watched the whole video, and we can have a chat about it. So before you do post any comments, clearly I'm looking to move on from the VF. It's a really nice car to drive still. However, it's a 2014 model car. It's done about 130,000 Ks now, and I'd just like to move it on for something newer. If I'm, you know, driving all up to Queensland and back towing, it's, you know, I've got a nice and new modern car that's, you know, under warranty and stuff like that, that I know should be somewhat much more reliable. However, before you start posting comments below on what your recommendations are, please watch the whole video, because I have very specific sort of criteria that I want for my car, because it is my car. It's, yeah, so make sure you cover and watch those points before you start posting up somewhere in below and saying, oh yeah, the 2007 Audi whatever has this V8 and that, it can tow this and that. There's specific criteria that I want to meet. So keep on watching, and then yeah, post your comments after that. So let's dig a bit deeper into what that criteria is. All right, so essentially what I'm looking at here is, first of all, $100,000 Australian dollars, not US pesos, budget ceiling cap. I'd like to pay less than that, of course, but I'm going to look at cars up to 100K basically. Has to be 2018 or newer. I'm not going to consider anything older than 2018 at all, no matter what. Must be petrol and must be V8. So those two criteria are pretty much set in stone, because petrol V8s, decent cube ones, you know, if there's aftermarket support and there's exhaust in that, they really sound nice. So I'm moving from, you know, a performance sort of car, a bit of an all-rounder, can tow a bit, but it's, you know, it's 6-litre V8. It's got V8 sound, it's nice to drive, it's punchy, it's torquey. But yeah, it doesn't sound like one of those Thailand Tractor diesel work tradie utes things. So I do not want one of those, whatever. So yeah, they're my criteria basically. And of course, yeah, that last one is towing. So it has to tow up to about 3 ton basically. So 100K, 2018 or newer, petrol V8, and towing up to sort of 3 ton minimum. So that's the bare minimum 4 criteria to get on the short list. And we'll have a look at a bit more things now to see what, I guess, takes a car from a short list to being a contender. Now, I know what you're probably saying, hey, you've already got a tow truck, what does the towing capacity matter? Well, I've driven the F350 a fair bit. I've driven it in warmish sort of weather, and what I've found is, what I normally do when I tow a car to the track is I'm relaxed, I'm thinking about the race, and get there, race the car, put the car back on the trailer, and I'm relaxed driving home. What I've found about the F350 is, it's not a truck you can really relax in. You've still got to be on your game. It's the braking performance is what you'd expect from a big, heavy 1976 truck. The engine's a bit underpowered. You're sure we can chuck a turbo on that and handle that, but it's a big, big, heavy beast with that thing on the back. There's only room seating for 2 people basically, so I can take one mate basically, and that's it. So it's limited in that capacity as well. But the biggest thing is the comfort factor. So on a hot day, I drove it when I was about the low 30s. Drove it for about 5 minutes, and I was done. I was exhausted in this thing. So I could drive it to somewhere like Heathcote or whatever, an hour and a half away. But I couldn't see me driving this to Willowbank, for instance, a 20+ hour round trip, one way trip. You know, it's not practical for that, so I still need something that can tow it for those big interstate trips. So, F350, maybe I'll sell it, I don't know. Maybe I'll keep it around, we'll see. But let's dive a bit deeper into some of the other requirements here. So as it's going to be a new car, pretty much, I went to car sales because that's the predominant sort of site to buy new cars in Australia, and open the page and wow, 130,000 cars available to search, fantastic. I put in the criteria I wanted, $100,000 max budget, must be able to tow. Well, I limited this to even 2,500 kilos to give me a wider range so I could make my own decisions. Petrol and V8 and 2018 and newer, and lo and behold, that list got reduced from 130,000 to 100 cars nationally, not just in Victoria, nationally. And of those 100, they were pretty much dominated by 2 makes and models, or 3 makes and models, that being a Ram 1500, the Y62 Nissan Patrol, and the Jeep Grand Cherokee in a couple of variants, I think S Limited and the SRT. Slightly north of that price bracket is also the HSV, GMSV, whatever they're called now, Silverado as well. So I'm just going to keep that in the comparison now just because it's not far north of 100K and it ticks every other box. So I don't want to completely discount it just yet. I'll leave it in there. But because it is a brand new car, there's none out there in the used market. So you can't get a 2018 or 19 or an ex-demo really one for under 100K. So it's going to be really tough to get to that 100K budget. But we'll keep it in now just for interest's sake, just so we can see how it compares to some of the others out there. Now in that 100 car list, there was, I think, a little splattering of, I think there was one Landcruiser. It looked very basic and very beige and old man sort of looking. There was one X5 and there was an Infiniti Q45, which I don't know anyone that will be buying an Infiniti unless they are like $2 because, well, they packed up and left Australia, I think it was about 2 years ago. So aftermarket support for that and resale is going to be terrible. So, I mean, yeah, if you're going to buy a car that you want for the next 10 years and you don't care about the resale, the Infiniti is probably a really good car. But yeah, the Land Cruiser is nothing. I think, yeah, there was one. So it's obviously very hard to get those kind of models in this price bracket. So pretty much discount those. Other thing I did was I changed petrol to being petrol and diesel. And all it really did is jump the car listings up to 323. I thought, oh, okay, I'll just have a quick look at this. They were all Land Cruisers. Every single one of them were all Land Cruisers. You know, there's troopy looking ones and whatever the normal Land Cruiser was. But yeah, so, I mean, the options were only now a Land Cruiser. It wasn't like there was another 10 different style of cars out there. There was just a Land Cruiser. And for me, the Land Cruiser just bit dated. It's very plain. It doesn't have much styling. So that might be great for a grey nomad who's towing their caravan around Australia and they don't care about the looks and the styling of that. But the Land Cruiser just looks very boring. It's a bit pedestrian, to be honest. So not really something I'm looking for. And yeah, we'll move on to the next thing that I'm definitely not looking for. All right, so I've made the window very narrow around what I want, and I know what you're probably talking about out there right now, and you're screaming out it's the Navaras, it's the Rangers, it's the Tritons or whatever. I don't want a Thailand tractor. I've driven a few of these before, and they are getting better in terms of driving more like a car and less like a tradies ute, which is what they are. However, the diesel engines just don't interest me at all. I want a performance V8. Sure, a big Ram 1500 or a Silverado or whatever aren't going to handle even a Commodore is just a family car, but I mean, it's a bit lighter, a bit more nimble than that. But I'm not buying it for I guess the performance handling characteristics of it, but I am buying it for the performance sound characteristics of this car. So I've come from obviously driving the Commodore, and it sounds great. It's got a nice V8, and if you put an exhaust on and stuff, it'll sound even better. That is what I want in this next car. I'm yet to see any one of these diesels sound nice. It don't sound like a bloody vacuum cleaner sucking through a snorkel. So understand, great at towing, great economy, but thanks, but yeah, no thanks. If you don't know what I mean by one of these variants such as the Ram or whatever, a Silverado Patrol, sounding great, and the difference between a diesel Thailand tractor and one of these petrol V8 variants, well, have a little listen to this. That's the Harrop modified Y62 Petrol, and yeah, I mean, quite honestly, if anyone could say that a diesel, turbo diesel tradies ute sounds anything close to that, no, it just doesn't. Petrol V8, not negotiable. There's something else to consider here. Maybe you found like an old BMW or a Merc from 2014 or whatever, and you know, oh yeah, they used to be a $250,000 car, now it's 80K. I don't care. I don't care. One of the core stipulations here is 2018 and newer. I have a 2014 model car now. It's got 130,000 Ks on the clock. I don't want to replace it with another car that's got 130,000 or 100,000 Ks on the clock. 2018 and newer, that's it. That's also not negotiable. And one of the main reasons I want a 2018 or newer car is if you've looked at our video on the pretty honest review we did on the VF Commodore, is you'll know that the infotainment system was a big gripe of mine. So it has no DAB radio, it has no Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, whatever it's called. So it means I have to stream using my own data from like an app. So I'll listen to Triple M Hard and Heavy. It's a DAB station, but I can't get it. So in the VF, I have to stream it from my phone to the Bluetooth on the receiver. So that works. However, I then can't plug it into the charger, because once I plug the charger into the car, it thinks that an iPad's attached and it doesn't play anymore. So it's terrible. Also, the map systems are really clunky in these cars when you have to manually type everything in. If you just had Apple CarPlay and you could look up Google Maps, bang, send it, you're done. It's much quicker and that to type all that stuff in and find your destination. So that's really what I want in a newer car. Technology from 2014 to 2018 or 20 has moved on leaps and bounds. So that's a massive part of, I guess, going from a car from the short list to getting a car to being an actual contender that I'll want to actually have a look at. So let's have a look at some of these shortlisted cars now and yeah, dig a bit deeper into them. Okay, so in no particular order, let's start with the Ram truck. So the Ram truck is imported as a left-hand drive vehicle, and it's converted to right-hand drive for sale in Australia by Walkinshaw. So the model variants, I guess, to look at here are the 1500. I'm not looking at the 2500, of course. So it's the 1500, and really the pick of the crop here is the Laramie. So there is the 1500 quad cab and the 1500 crew cab. Now the quad cab, quite honestly, is the absolute poverty pack of the line here. Now this is an expensive car or truck. However, it's got really, really basic infotainment system. It's got really drab-looking cloth interior. And yeah, it is a base level car. I mean, this truck, I think in the US is something like $20,000 US. So I mean, for it to be 70 or whatever is out here is a lot. It's a lot of money for not much of a truck. I mean, you get what you do get across the range is 8-speed auto, up to 4.5 ton towing capacity, and 5.7 litre Hemi. Which is great because it ticks all the boxes I need to, but really the Laramie is probably the only one you really want to look at here. Now the Laramie gets 8.4 inch colour touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and all that type of, all the jazz that you want there. 20 inch alloys, 800 kilo payload in the back of the tray, and then your 4.5 towing out back, so it's perfect, ticks all the boxes there. Now it's 2.1 metres wide and 5.8 metres long, so all I can think of this thing is can you narrow? However, yeah, it's definitely no shrinking vile on the road, but I'm not really concerned about shopping centre car parks and tight squeezes in wherever. It's not a main requirement. I'm not concerned about having to do an Austin Powers 7.2 to get into or out of somewhere. It's not what it's not going to be a deal breaker, I guess. So that's fine. I understand the girth of it, but yeah, let's look at some of the other key points here of this truck. 12.2 litres per 100 Ks economy, 7.32 0 to 100 time, and the braking performance 100 to 0 is 42.1 metres. So from what I've seen now across like the Petrol and the Silverado, we'll see in the future, that's pretty much very standard in the ballpark and that. So fuel economy I'm not really worried about, and 0 to 100 times I don't care about. However, it is a good indication of performance, I guess, of the engine, and same with the braking performance. If I'm going to be towing, you don't want something that's, maybe F350 specs. So in summary, 4 doors, petrol V8, under 100k, 2018 and newer. It ticks all the boxes, or does it? Now, this car only comes with a 3-year, 100,000 kilometre warranty. I don't know of many other new cars actually coming with a 3-year warranty anymore. So I haven't looked at the others. I know that Jeep does. I'm pretty sure Nissan is also 5 years, and Jeep's 5 years now. I'm not sure about the Silverado because I haven't totally considered that one yet because it's over 100k. But 3 years for a new car warranty stinks a bit in my opinion in this day and age. You're paying 100k for a car, lease is more than likely about 5 years. 3-year warranty is not good enough. So that's getting close to a deal breaker for me. Not a total deal breaker, but it is close to it. Because I know I had the VF, and the VF under warranty had a litany. The list was literally this big of warranty issues. And a lot of them were in the last couple of years of the warranty that I had. So if that car had a 3-year warranty, I would have been up for wheel bearings that shut themselves way too early, steering racks, AC system that was broken, all this stuff that was known issues, went wrong, and I guess the last half of the warranty of the 5-year warranty period in that car. So, 3-year warranty, very skeptical on that. But the biggest thing for me on this Ram 1500 is this is not the current model Ram. So, happy to be proven different if I'm wrong here, but from what I can tell, this is a model Ram variant that dates back to 2009 or something, and it looks old. I mean, I'm pretty sure from when I went to the US about 4 years ago, and I'm pretty sure we hired this exact Ram. I mean, that was 4 or 5 years ago, whatever it was. So I believe it's got a facelift now in the US. There is a 2020 model that's been out for 15 months or so, and this Ram they're making in Australia is not the model you can buy in the US. So yeah, to pay that premium, I guess, for this luxury car and luxury car tax, it's almost at that point. To buy, top of the line Laramie for 100k, and you're really getting a car that's, your badge might say 2020, but really it's a 2015 or older model truck. That I think that's a deal breaker, really. I mean, yeah, it ticks all the other boxes, but I'm not paying $100,000 for a truck that's really 5 years old already. So really on the fence with that one. Might have to have a chat to the guys importing this through Walkshaw to see if they have that 2020 facelift coming in 2021. But for now, I don't even know if I'll bother test driving this thing because it just is. It is a bit long in the tooth. It's getting a bit old in its model, model space period. So, with that, let's move on to the other truck that's in the range, but not really, the Silverado. Okay, so unlike the Ram, the Silverado is a really recent 2020 model. Its styling is new and aggressive, and it looks like a 2020 car. It is, however, priced at about 115k, I think. So it is obviously 20k more expensive than the Laramie, and it is, that 15k over the budget. Now, is that a deal breaker? Yeah, it's probably one of the ones that's on the fence that, if you had to stretch, maybe you do. But it ticks all the other boxes in regards to petrol V8, its performance, towing capacity, and all that kind of stuff. So again, here we get 10-speed auto, up from the 8-speed in the Ram. We get 6.2 litre Chev V8. You got the Apple CarPlay and Android and everything integrated there. 8-speaker Bose system. I think that's what the Laramie had as well. So that's great. Now it's got pretty much the same combined fuel economy as a Ram at 12.3 litres 100 Ks. However, this is a fair bit quicker in acceleration and in stopping distance as well. 0 to 100 is 6.4, and the 100 to 0 is just a smidge on 40 metres. So that's a couple of metres shorter than the Ram, and also basically a second faster than Ram. So it's a more modern car, better styling, same fuel economy, faster, stops better. yeah, sure, it might be 20k more than the Laramie, but really on paper, the Silverado seems to be a much better truck. Okay, so moving away from the two trucks, we have the SUVs. Now, yes, we've covered the Landcruiser and the X5s and all those one or two little variants there in the Petrol V8 range. The Y62 Nissan Patrol and the Jeep Grand Cherokee S Limited and SRT model variants are pretty much the only other cars you will find in this list. So of the 100, 60 of them were Y62 Patrols, which shows you how popular they are in this space. 18 were the Jeeps, Jeep Grand Cherokee across the S Limited and the SRT, and 18 were also Rams. So yeah, from, you can discern from that, from the 100 cars or whatever there, that essentially most of them are those three. So let's take a closer look now at the Y62 Patrol. Now, the Patrol on paper looks like an absolute masterclass. It's rock solid, well known for its great engineering, reliability. It's a really tough, rugged truck. It's just had a facelift. So this is some of the down points now of the Patrol already that we're going to get into. It's that this model has been around, this Y62 has been around since 2010. It's now 2020 and it's had five facelifts. That's fair enough. However, changing a few little cosmetic things in that, in my mind, doesn't make it a new model. And when you dive into this thing a bit deeper, it really starts standing out that this is still a 2010 model SUV. Now, performance, the 100 to 0 sort of braking is basically sits in between the Ram and the Silverado. So you think the Silverado's some giant big truck or whatever, it outperforms this Y62 Patrol in terms of braking performance. And the economy of the Y62 Patrol, I don't know if this is being a little too honest here, but the combined economy is 14.4 litres 100k, so it's 2 litres per 100 k's more than the Laramie and the Silverado. So I don't really care about the fuel economy figures. I'm not really interested in at all. It's not why I'm buying a petrol V8 in a big, heavy 2.5 ton truck or SUV, but just interesting that the figures for the Patrol quoted are much higher than these big, heavy trucks. You'd think that they would be, through the roof. So maybe Nissan's just being more honest on what you actually can achieve versus what the other guys are. Now, unfortunately for Nissan, this is where I guess a complete deal breaker comes in for me. So there's two model variants, a TI and a TIL, and I don't like a lot of the options in the TIL, such as the 8-inch monitors in the back and a few other things that you have to pay to get some of the other features you might want, like heated seats or whatever. But the real deal breaker here is that it's 2020, and for under $30,000 in some cars you can buy and you get touchscreen, 8-inch, 7.5-inch touchscreen with navigation and Apple CarPlay and DAB radio. You don't get any of this in this $100,000 Nissan Patrol. It's just pathetic from Nissan. It is really pathetic. I cannot believe they just brought out a 2020 Gen 5 facelift for this truck, and they still don't have DAB radio, integrated Apple CarPlay, an actual decent looking navigation system. This thing it's just awful. You have a look inside here and there's this dated wood grain as well. It really does look like a poor version of what this $100,000 car should be. So very disappointing, and that is a complete deal breaker for me. So what I've looked at this as well is that there's a model that they get in the United Arab Emirates that actually has a decent, not Tesla spec, but a decent huge big screen with Apple CarPlay and all this. So I'd say to Nissan Australia, what in the hell are you doing? Is it just cheaper to manufacture this thing and you just expect Australians will buy it? Yeah, that for me, complete deal breaker. It's done. I've read into this sort of extensively, and you can get aftermarket units to fit in that space to give you that big iPad-looking screen and a DAB and all that. From what I've seen, these things are incredibly unreliable. A lot of comments of people that video dropping out, stereo dropping out, nav freezing, your heating controls getting stuck on cold and things like that, and having to turn the car off and reset. I tell you what, if I'm buying a $100,000 car, I'm not having any of that. So yeah, drop something in the comments if you've got a Y62 Patrol and what you think of the interior and the tech in it. Also, maybe you've done some of this modification. You've put in a later model nav or infotainment system. Yeah, if you've had reliability at it, let me know what brand it is and how much it cost, and yeah, maybe I can look into that and it can get back on the contender list. But right now, Y62 Patrol's done. And with that, we're down to the only other option left on this list, which is a Jeep. And my God, what kind of world are we living in here in Australia now, where the only option for a petrol V8, some kind of performance variant SUV, is a Jeep. Now, as I've already mentioned, there's a couple of model variants here. There's the S Limited and the SRT. Now, I understand there is the holy grail here, the Trackhawk, the big 6.2 litre Hemi supercharged Hellcat engine, basically, version of the Grand Cherokee. However, new prices for these start at about 165k, I believe, and there is no used market essentially for it. So anyone that's bought one in 2018 still driving it, probably because they are having a bloody ripper of a time tearing tyres off it and stuff like that. So I think it makes over 700 horsepower, and that is God level stuff. However, it's just not in the budget. Yeah, if it was, I guarantee you I'd be looking at it. So unfortunately it isn't, so we've got to look at these other two. So let's have a closer look at S Limited versus SRT, and yeah, what might be the better choice there. So straight off the back, the S Limited has a 5.7 litre Hemi, whereas the SRT has a 6.4 litre Hemi. Now, they don't look that much different on paper in terms of horsepower and torque and that, but you have a look at the actual real-world performance figures, and they are fairly spaced apart. So it's almost mind-boggling, the difference in 0 to 100 times, but the SRT does it in 4.9 seconds. Now, that is proper quick. That is really quick. The S Limited is a 7.4 second time. So that, you think that 0.7 litre V8 capacity, and you know, very close in terms of horsepower. That is, I mean, if you've been a sub 5 second car, you know that's quick. That's generally quick. 7.4 second, especially when the 3.6 litre petrol and 3.0 litre, I think, diesel are in basically almost 8 seconds. You know, the Hemi 5.7 litre Hemi is very much on par with the V6 and the diesel, and that for me, without even digging much deeper into the S Limited, means no thanks. So both tow 3.5 tonne, both have the 8 point whatever inch Apple CarPlay, DAB, all that kind of jazz, so they've got that all covered. I'm pretty sure both have the 9-speaker stereo as well here. Both sub 100k, both 2018 new, and there's quite a fair few out there to choose from, so it's probably the front runner at the moment. Now, what's also astonishing is that the SRT gets Brembo brakes, and it has a stopping performance of 100 to 0k's in just over 34 metres. So when you consider that the Silverado was 40, the Dodge Ram or the Ram 1500, the Laramie was 42, and the Petrol was also 42, this thing will out-accelerate it and outbrake either of those other three. So SRT is probably really closely matched to what I'm driving now, which is the VF Redline, in terms of, you know, that performance and the braking capacity. So yeah, I mean, probably got to get past some of the legacy reliability issues here. I know they have a 5-year warranty now, so I mean, yeah, sure, warranty's great, but you don't want your new car breaking down all the time. So if you own a Jeep Grand Cherokee and it's a couple of years old or whatever, give me your opinion on what you think about the reliability of the Jeep. How's it been? Are you one of those people that goes around going, I bought a Jeep? Because seems to be a lot of weirdos out there that drive Jeeps as well, but there's a lot of great people as well. So they're a pretty good car, but they've got a lot of reliability legacy issues there. So have Jeep really cleaned up their game here? Are they much better than what they used to be? Because really on paper here, Silverado looks great, but it's over the budget, like I said. And really, this Jeep SRT is almost the only car, truck, whatever that I can see that ticks all the criteria. Sort of a performance petrol V8, 2018 or newer, under 100k, towing capacity. I think the towing capacity of this is 2950 or something like that. So that's more than enough. That's close enough to 3 tonne for me that it gets a tick. But yeah, is badge snobbery here going to come into play, sort of like it does with the Kia Stinger, or maybe even like the GR Yaris, where people go, $50,000 for a Yaris or whatever. Whatever, you know, while this might be a Jeep Grand Cherokee, it's not the budget version one. It's you know, just sort of a step down from the Trackhawk. It shares a lot of the Trackhawk stuff as well with the interior pieces. It's apparently very cool interior, carbon fiber and stuff like that too. So probably have to get out and look at one of these in person, I think. So each of these cars and trucks have their good and bad points. In summary, looking at the Ram there, good options list, good engine. However, this is an older gen truck. It is not, I mean, it's 2020, but it's not a 2020 truck. And that for me is pretty much a deal breaker. I don't want to buy the 2015 US throwback. I want the 2020 US truck. So if they're going to bring it in, might have to do a bit of work and find out if they're going to bring it in or not, and hold off depending on how long that is and see what it prices up like. But I'm not buying an older gen truck. Pretty much as simple as that, I think. Silverado looks good, looks great, is definitely a contender. However, that over 100K price point really is a sticking point. So I don't know, maybe you can get an X demo or a deal or something, but over 100K, I just have to cross it off the list, unfortunately. Y62 Patrol, some modified versions of these look absolutely killer. They sound great. They tick every box except for that infotainment part, and that is a deal breaker. Some people might go like, oh, you know, it's a great reliable car and that, who cares if it is? I care. It's my car, and there is no way I'm spending 100K on something if I cannot use a DAB radio through the actual radio system, and the navigation system looks like it was designed in 2005. So, sorry Nissan, good car, not great. And the Jeep, specifically the SRT, it looks like it's the pick of the bunch. It's got everything. It's got the performance, it's got the braking, it's got the towing capacity, it's the right price, it's got the right year range. There's a lot out there. However, can I get past the brand snobbery, and has their reliability improved? I'm really going to rely on you guys out there telling me stories about Jeeps and especially the Grand Cherokees, and if they're much better than what they are in that. So hopefully resale value is a hell of a lot better than what they were used to. I remember I was looking back probably about 6 or 7 years ago, so say like 2012, 2013, I was looking at a 2004 Jeep Grand Cherokee, and the thing was like $3,000. Like it had basically, all of its resale value had disappeared. So, you know, all those reliability issues that they had, people knew about them. They were very widespread. So is that still a thing now in 2020? I don't know. Need you guys to help me out here. Point me in the right direction of yes, maybe a Jeep forum or something, if forums are still a thing, or if there's a Jeep page somewhere specifically for feedback for Aussie Jeep owners and what they think. Really like to dig a bit deeper in this, because 100K purchase isn't, it's probably the biggest purchase you'll make outside of buying a house. So I'm going to be stuck with this car for probably the next 5 years, so I want to make sure I make a pretty informed decision. So if there's something I've left on this list mistakenly, I've buggered up a filter or something where I've been on car sales, let me know. However, remember, it must be Petrol V8, 2018 or newer, and under 100K. Stretch to 110 if you want, and also that 3.5 or 3 ton towing capacity. Diesels, no thanks. Cars from 2013, no thanks. But if you know of something that is in that wheel area, let me know. Definitely happy to consider other options that I might not have thought of. Also, don't say get a this, that, whatever, and do a turbo conversion. I'm not doing turbo conversions or modifying this or do whatever. Biggest thing this thing will cop will be an air intake, maybe lowered suspension, different set of wheels, and an exhaust. Just easy bolt-on cosmetic sort of thing. So no engine conversions and stuff like that. That's just complete nonsense for your daily driver, standard sort of car. So next step from here is probably to get feedback from your comments and that. Take that all down, realise, some other options that I need to look at, and then probably in a future video, go out and test drive some of these cars. So yes, I've said the Y62 Patrol is a no-go with that infotainment system, but what does that actually drive like versus a Silverado, versus the Ram, versus the Jeep, you know? So if I'm saying no to the Y62 Patrol, but it drives fantastically, well, can I give up that drivability because of the infotainment system? You know, does that start to weigh up there? So I could go drive the Jeep SRT and go, oh, this drives great, but I don't know what's great, you know, in relation to, you need, I guess, something to peg it against in that. So that's probably coming up in future episodes. I might drive, I'll hopefully get to drive maybe all 4 of them, and we might do a separate episode or all 4 or roll into one. We'll see how we go on that. But yeah, thanks for watching. As always, don't forget to click the like, give us a thumbs up if you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Definitely leave your comments below on your feedback and what your thoughts are. Go over to all the other social medias, Paul Broomy on Instagram and Broomy's Garage on Facebook. Definitely post up a heap of different stuff on Instagram fairly often, so go and follow me over there and drop me a message in there if you want. If you would need any advice on other tech videos I've done, like the fittings and wiring and all that kind of stuff, always happy to help. And until next time, I'll see you later.